The 2015 Dodge Viper SRT GT3-R is Dodge's last GT3 car and was used from 2014 to 2016 in the IMSA series. It is also the most powerful car within the Group 3 class. Today, we will test how the car performs with Gran Turismo's BOP values and if it can still be competitive against the newer cars within this group. The 5th generation Dodge Viper was produced from 2012 to 2017 and was first shown in 2012 at the New York Auto Show. In comparison to the previous generation, the engine was bored up even more and now hosts a naturally aspirated 8.4-litre V10 engine with around 650 PS. The GTS version weighs around 1556 kilograms and achieves a 50-50 weight distribution. The power is transmitted to a 6-speed manual gearbox. The Dodge Viper SRT GT3-R was developed in 2013 and competed in the GTD class of the IMSA series from 2014 to 2016. In its first year of competition and only one car, it won the races at the Mosport Park and the Circuit of the Americas. In 2015, the Viper won the prestigious 24 Hours of Daytona and scored 3 more victories, with the number 93 Riley Motorsports claiming the North American Endurance Cup, which represents the 4 longest races in the calendar. In 2016, the number 33 Riley Motorsports claimed P2 in the GTD class with 3 victories, the last one being at the season finale at the Petit Le Mans race in Road Atlanta, the last outing in the IMSA Championship and therefore bowing out in proper style. In the 2026 manufacturers ranking recorded on 27th of June 2026, Dodge ranked in P25 overall with a total of 397.333 points over all 3 classes. In the highest class, GT1, it was placed dead last in P27 with 75.5 points. The highest ranking is in the GT2 class in P18 with 180.5 points. In the GT3 class, it's P23 with 141.333 points. The racing career of the Viper GT3-R was short, but successful. So how will the car compare to the other cars in this group? Where can the Viper strike? Let's find out. The Viper has the standard ride height of 60mm at the front and 70mm at the back, and frequencies of 3.8 Hz at the front and 3.4 Hz at the back. The downforce levels of 400 at the front and 600 at the rear mean that the car is in the medium downforce range. The weight is slightly pushed to the rear, with the distribution being 49-51. If you look at the engine and torque curves, the engine curve moves up linearly until around 5000 rpm, where it is already at around 90% power. From around 6000 to 6500 rpm, the engine produces peak power before dropping hard until the limit of 7000 rpm. The torque curve peaks at around 5000 rpm. This means that the car should be revved to about 6500 rpm. The gearbox ratio shows an ideal shifting point at 6800 rpm, which is too late to shift and would likely mean a time loss and unnecessary fuel consumption. With 6 gears, the first gear only reaches up to 96 kph, which should ensure a quick getaway. The top speed is set to 316 kph. With each gear change, the next gear should land between 4500 to 5000 rpm, which is an ideal point for shifting. Now that we know how the car works, I will test the acceleration capabilities. In the first test, I will drive on Tokyo Expressway east clockwise in a custom race with a Group 4 opponent behind me, with a flying start. We already start extremely strong with a sub 24 second time. This is a 23.867. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 1, fuel depletion times 1, same conditions set on, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with bumper cam. As expected, there is another time improvement. We end up with a 23.718. From the point the game releases me, I will stay on the lane I started and drive until the first sector ends, and note down the time. We are even faster. The Viper is a rocket in acceleration. This is a 23.617. I will repeat these tests several times and with different shifting points. Once at 25% of the ref bar, 50%, 75%, 90%, 100%, and as a last test, rev it out as much as possible. Another improvement, this time it's a 23.610. If there is a wide difference between 100% rev bar and maximum revs, I will do a further test at half point. For this car, this was not necessary. We are getting slower now, not much though. We end up with a 23.654. All times will be noted down and you will see what effects shifting at the right point has for the car. In the end, only the fastest time out of the set times will count. We lose even more time now as we hit the power decline. We settle with a 23.872. The Viper climbs up to P1 with a gap of over 3/10. It's an absolute rocket ship. You don't need to rev it fully to get the best result. In a second test, I will accelerate from a standstill and at the ideal shifting point which we saw in the previous test. If you will drive a race or championship that has standing starts, this will be important because some cars have long first gears, which means that they will take longer to accelerate and you might be losing positions at the start. The Viper has a short first gear and therefore starts very well. A little lift off is needed with the mediums, otherwise there can be wheel spin. We end up this test with a 27.681. The Viper also blitzes the standing start. Caution is needed, but if executed correctly, many cars can be passed. Next, we will do 2 top speed tests. For the first test, I will open a private online lobby and select Special Stage Route X. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 1, fuel depletion times 1, same conditions set on, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with bonnet cam. The straight is long enough for the cars to reach its natural top speed after 10 km. However, the car should stay stable within the last 600 meters and not lose speed. If it does, I'll drive to the other side of the oval and drive a few more kilometers until the speed sets. With the strong acceleration from before, it is no surprise that the Viper also has decent top speed. The car moves around the sweet spot in power output. We end up at 284 kph. This places the Viper in P1, along with the RX Vision.
For the second test, we'll change the track to the Daytona Tri-Oval and drive 2 laps. The settings stay the same except for the track. The first lap does not count as it is meant to get up to speed. The second lap will count and the lap time will be recorded. This test is done to check how much speed the cars lose during cornering, which has to do with the cornering itself, the aerodynamics and the engine curves of the cars.
The higher power output and the car moving in the ideal power range makes the oval drive very fast. However, you can tell that the car should not need even more power, otherwise the time and speed gains will not be very high anymore. We end the lap in the oval with a 51.362. Once again, the Viper ends up in P1. At the moment, I don't see why the car is this unpopular.
The next 3 tests will be quite straightforward. I will test the cars on track and record the lap times. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear ×1, fuel depletion ×1, same conditions set on, weak shortcut penalties, and we will use medium racing tires and drive with cockpit cam. For each test I will drive 1 out lap and 10 timed laps, and I will do this twice. This means that each car gets 20 timed laps. Additionally, the total of best sector times and the optimal lap time will be counted instead of the fastest driven lap, as this provides a far fairer statement. Genuinely, a fastest lap can have errors in it. This will be eliminated through this method. The low speed BOP test will take place in Brands Hatch. This track was chosen due to most low speed BOP tracks having primarily slow speed corners, whereas you see many mid speed corners here as well.
The Viper is also one of these cars that are lighter in the low speed BOP circuits. And most likely this is needed. The slow corners feel okay, there is good traction out of acceleration zones, but I think there is a deficit in the mid and high speed corners. In the end, we set an optimal time of 1:24.359. With this time, we have our first tie. It is exactly as fast as the Mazda RX Vision and therefore goes into P4.
For the medium speed BOP test I have chosen Interlagos as the track to go to. Interlagos, at least in Formula 1, is a circuit where most cars and drivers are extremely close together in lap times. While the first section tests mid and high speed cornering, the second section tests mechanical grip, whereas the last section tests acceleration and top speed. You might notice that I say the same things in my videos at the same time. I'm using pre-recorded scripts to always explain to newcomers what these tests are about. You might have heard it in the explanation video already, but it never hurts saying this twice.
With the medium speed BOP, the weight has increased by 10 kilograms. The Viper feels good in the infield of sector 2. The fast corners are not perfect, but the strong acceleration will help it further up the road. It feels okay to drive, but it feels on the heavy side. We set an optimal lap time of 1:32.820. The Viper performs quite well at Interlagos and grabs P2 in the standings, just behind the Lexus.
For the high-speed BOP test, I have chosen the Autodromo Nazionale Monza as our test circuit. While the first section tests acceleration and mechanical grip, medium and high-speed cornering is tested in the second and third section. Another reason why this circuit was chosen is to test how good the cars are over curbs, as Monza has quite some aggressive curbs to master, which some cars can react allergic to.
Now Monza should be the circuit where the Viper can really shine. Traction zones, acceleration, top speed, only a handful of medium and high speed corners. It feels like a sprinter, strong out of the chicanes with enough traction, powerful, stable. A bit of a boat at the Ascari chicane and Alboreto, but okay. We set an optimal lap of 1:49.039. Almost as predicted, the Viper grabs the top spot on this track and throws the Lancer off P1.
The next test will bring us to Dragon Trail Seaside for the endurance test. This test determines how the car fares with fuel depletion and tire wear. The important settings are BOP on, all setup options except brake bias set off, tire wear times 5, fuel depletion times 3, same conditions set on, and we will use soft racing tires and drive with cockpit cam. I will drive race pace here, which means that I will drive a bit safer than in the previous sessions, drive round the lines, and look if I can save fuel if the car allows it. This circuit was chosen because it is a medium speed BOP circuit, because it has all types of corners, and it is a fair circuit considering tire wear, where neither front heavy FR cars nor rear heavy MR or RR cars are at a disadvantage. I will skip the major part of that stint, and I'll see you later on when the tires are at its end.
I am in lap 8 and the front left tire is almost dead. I am slowly coming into the fast flowing section of the second sector. Remember, this car is in the medium downforce range and has a 49-51 weight distribution. Higher tire wear could be an effect due to the reduced downforce levels compared to other cars. As the tire is now dead, I will stop and record the distance and fuel usage. If you look at the distance covered in this lap, we must have driven around 7.6 laps. While the Viper is not the worst car on tires, the result is disappointing. I expected more considering the weight distribution. There are 52 liters left in the tank. We started with 100 liters, this means we used 48 liters. Divided by the 7.6 laps driven, this results in 6.32 liters per lap. The Viper seems quite thirsty. If fuel is an issue, you can shift at 75% rev bar without much of a time loss and save fuel.
The setup tests are useful for two reasons. Firstly, it shows how the car is set up and how a few clicks can make the car behave completely differently. Secondly, it shows what potential can be unlocked if you have races and championships where more setup changes are allowed. I will do two setup tests. The first test will be a repeat of the Special Stage Route X top speed test with all setup options allowed. There, the car will be set to minimum downforce and the top speed will be recorded. Due to the engine power curves and different stock downforce levels, the results can differ widely.
With the reduced downforce, the Viper climbs up to 289 kph, gaining 5 kph in the process. While the last few cars previously tested were coming into ideal power range, the Viper is falling out of it. It's a small gain.
The second test will be a repeat of the medium BOP test in Interlagos with all setup options allowed. All cars will be set to medium downforce levels on the front and rear, and I will do some suspension and LSD changes for my preference. In some cases, drivability will improve, and in others it will get worse. How much faster or slower the cars can get is up to the standard setting and can differ widely for each car.
Downforce levels stay at 400 and 600, and the other settings have been changed to my liking. There is a slight improvement in the low speed corners, and the medium and high speed corners work a bit better as well. Overall, the car feels a bit more nimble and agile, exactly what the Viper desperately needs. After our 20 laps of driving, we end up with a 132.470. With the normalized setup, we gain 0.350 seconds, which is a good gain and matches the improved feeling of the car. Considering the lap time, the Viper tops the Lexus and climbs on top. With open setup, the Viper can get very potent.
This test consists of 3 steps. First, another top speed test on Special Stage Route X will be done. This time the BOP is set to off, and the cars are set up manually to have 5 to 7% more power, depending on the maximum power output of the cars. The setup will be the same as it is when the BOP is on, so stock. Like in the setup tests, this is to see how much each car improves in top speed.
As the most powerful car in the Group 3 class, the Viper only gains 5% more power, which still is 34 PS more than before. However, the power band once again lets the car gain only little more speed. In the end, we end up with 289 kph, a gain of 5 kph. With that, the Viper gains around 1 kph with each percent more power, but each increase is around 7 ps.
Additionally, acceleration tests will be done, both with flying and standing starts, and with an Unimog as an opponent. The shifting points will be the optimal shifting points as determined in the first acceleration test.
Due to the high power of the Viper and high power reduction, there should be a high time gain with each percent power. We end up the acceleration test with a 23.018. As expected, the Viper is 0.592 seconds faster. With each percent power increase, we gain 0.118 seconds. For the standing start, you can still start similarly to before, although you need to be even more careful with the accelerator. The Viper works perfectly when accelerating. Due to the already strong starting performance, the time gain should be rather low though. The Viper ends up with a time of 27.208. The Viper gains 0.473 seconds, improving by 0.095 seconds with each percent power increase.
The third test will be a repeat of the high-speed BOP test in Monza, again with BOP set to off and the increased power output. Another 20 hot laps will be driven and the optimal time will be noted. Then the lap time will be compared to the high-speed BOP lap time and the value for each percent power increase will be noted down. With this test, you can see how much the car improves by giving 1% more power.
The Viper was already working pretty well on this circuit, and with more power it should work even better. However, the time gain at the end is more important. Since the Viper only gains 5% power, the time gain overall shouldn't be as big as with other cars getting more power percentage. But due to the high power figure, the gain per percent power should still be potent. We end up with a lap time of 147.786. The time improvement is 1.253 seconds and 0.251 seconds per percent more power, a strong improvement.
The last test will be another repeat of the high-speed BOP test in Monza, with the same settings as before with the increased power test. This time the initial BOP power output from the BOP will be set again. However, at least for the Group 3 tests, the weight will be increased by 35 kilograms for each car. This is because the highest ballast weight due to the high-speed BOP is 165 kilograms. Another 20 hot laps will be driven and the optimal time will be noted down. Then the lap time will be compared to the high-speed BOP lap time and the value for weight increase will be noted down. Basically, the difference in lap times will be divided by 7 to have a 5 kg time loss. With this testing method, you can see how much slower the car gets by adding 5 kg of weight.
There is not much to say. Slightly less top speed, slightly slower acceleration. You don't feel much. It's just slower in every way, in a way so subtle that you don't really notice. In the end, we achieve an optimal time of 1:49.517, which is 0.478 seconds slower than with the BOP. With every 5 kg weight increase, the time loss is minimal with 0.068 seconds. The 2015 Dodge Viper SRT GT3-R turns out to be a sprinter with amazing acceleration stats, good starts, a strong top speed, and a preference in slow speed corners. Therefore, the car will be working best on stop-and-go circuits and circuits mainly consisting of slow corners. However, it can begin to struggle on circuits with medium and high speed corners. Tire wear and fuel economy are at the lower end of the list, but not on a level where it would massively hurt the car. With open setup, the Viper can get a good bit stronger as the understeer can be worked around. I hope you now learned a bit more about the Viper and you now know how to use it to your advantage. The next car will be one of the oldest GT3 cars in this game, which has always been a very difficult car to rate in the BOP tables. I hope you find this video series interesting, and I'd love to hear from you in the next video.